It worked that time.
Hello, and welcome to a Gooners podcast.
The most professional podcast ever.
That's why we're nominated for awards, and we're on YouPorn.
All the awards, we're gonna be nominated for an AVN award next year. I'm sure of it.
We are. We are. How
let's
are
open
you, Michael?
This is where we open with pleasantries.
Sure. How the fuck are you?
I hate the interlull, but because it's been like 2 weeks since our last podcast. But I love the Interlull Podcast, and we have a panel of gentlemen, and I use that word very, very lightly, put together today. So let's get right into introducing them. First, with a man who needs no introduction whatsoever, but he's getting one anyway. He's widely known as the Reasonable One on Arsenal Fan TV. He's widely known as the guy who knows what he's talking about when he comes on our podcast. He's half of the weekly regular hosts of the Same Old Arsenal, which is up for the FBA award for the best football podcast. Make sure to vote for their asses. Speaking of half, it's exactly the portion of a pint that he enjoys on a regular basis. And he is the one and only Right Honorable Lee M. Judges IV OBG, which stands for Old Bald Geezer.
Wow,
Andy told me to say that.
That introduction was going right well until the end there, wasn't it? Like, I was like loving that. Absolutely loving it. You can't spoil it. You go and spoil it. They're going to whack the hammer on your head for that. Like, so, totally out of order, like, you know. But thanks for having me on, guys. I've come home early from work just to especially be with you in your company. So there you go. So
we don't take that. We don't take that lightly. No, I don't take anything lightly. Was that night in Sutton, the famous night in Sutton, which our next guest was with us for? Was that the initial half pint moment, or did I come in midway on the half pint movement? Did we witness the genesis?
I don't know when the half pint movement come about. Really, like, you know what I mean, it's I don't know where it come from, but like it's sort of like stuck with me now. But I go around people calling me half pint and all that now. It's just totally out of order.
I swear it was that night at Sutton that's the first time I heard it.
I did have an half at Sutton.
If it wasn't Sutton, it might have been Palace away.
Yeah, no, I think he had a full pint that day with the pinky up, or no, it was a tea.
The pinky's always up.
Yeah, pinky's always up.
That's because I come from Wimbledon, Andrew.
Andrew?
See, that's where that's from. So, yeah, I don't know where. I think that I still have laughs about that night, you know what I mean? How we got home that night, and I wouldn't mind, but Lewis was the one panicking, and he only lived around the corner. It was a joke.
Yeah, we had to drop this guy off in West London. I almost destroyed the door of an Uber while Lee is laughing in the back like a teenager. So let's get on to Lou. It's the only man I prefer to hug shirtless rather than with a shirt. Live from somewhere in the west of London, it's Lewis White. How's it hanging, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on again. It's been a while.
You're looking jacked.
Yeah, it's been a long day. Been up since 4 a.m. this morning and had to go run around Wolverhampton looking at different gyms and
looking at wolves.
Project working on. So
sweet.
Take a photo of wolves as well. You took a photo of that. Very, very kind of you to share that with us. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Not the greatest photo, but you know.
No, like, you know, I couldn't make it out, but until you told us. But thank you anyway.
I was in the car at the time. You can see the amber of the stadium in the background. In background, so.
Well, you captured the moment perfectly. Next and last, but certainly not least, he's the revelation of this season's podcast. He's Andy's new best friend and worst enemy.
This is a real slap in the face, Mike.
It's D Ziggy, who I sprung on Andy at the last minute. David Ziegler.
No, you told me last night.
I know I did. Welcome back to the pod, Dave.
Oh, I'm happy to fill in when somebody drops out. No problem.
Oh, you don't know how many people dropped out that I have to call you. But I have to say, and you know, we got to get this out of the way because it wouldn't be a podcast involving David if we didn't talk about this. I'm in this business networking meeting that meets twice a month, and one of the guys in the group is a longtime friend. He owns a successful catering company, so he's in the food industry. And I know you know where we can get with this. He's the head chef of the hotel where both of my kids had their bar mitzvahs, whatever. This dude knows his way around food. So I finally got to him last Thursday, and I asked him the most important question. You know what it is? And I believe his words were, pineapple pizza isn't something I would ever serve at an event. And I wouldn't do an event if I were asked to serve that godforsaken, crap-ass, shitty travesty of a bullshit mixture of foods that don't go together. I may have made some of that up, but that was his general his gist.
So he said no.
He said no, I wouldn't do it, and then I added all the rest. But Andy, how does it feel to come face to face with your tormentor?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for the gifts. It was very thoughtful. I have yet to open the pineapple. I was thinking about going to grab it so I could do it live on air with Mr. Ziegler, so he could see the look of disgust eating dried pineapple.
That's good, though.
I also would like to thank him for sending me various inappropriate mailings that my mom grabbed from the mail before I did. So
what support? Do you care to share what some of the support groups that you've recently joined?
Yeah, one of them was how to stop chronic masturbation. The other one was how to get over.
Why would you want to stop that?
Yeah, how to get over having sex with farm animals. What was the other one? There was another one. I forget.
They're all like these like pastel colored mailers that.
Either way, my family thought they were hilarious. So
is that all that showed up so far?
There was another one. What was the third one?
Well, it's more than 3.
I've only gotten 3 so far.
Oh boy! Well, they must be getting siphoned off at the post office.
Yeah,
but
no, it was very much appreciated. And the pineapple plant is on my desk at work.
Still alive.
I don't think it's real.
Dave's like, just keep telling him to water it until he realizes it doesn't need water. If you ever need a prank pulled on somebody, if you ever need to take the piss out of somebody, this is your man right here.
I told Mike that I'm in the midst of my retaliation. I'm just trying to figure out where I can buy cocaine from, and then that's going to go in the mail.
Yeah, that'll get him. That'll show him.
Yeah. And then the FBI is going to show up 3 minutes after.
Especially now, because we know the FBI monitors YouPorn or Pornhub or whatever we're on. This one's not going on Pornhub, by the way, so don't worry. The FBA award. Speaking of Pornhub, same old AFC is up for best podcast. Make sure to nominate. We're still in the nomination phase, which lasts for some undetermined period of months or years. And then the top 10 nominees get the votes, and then you got to do it all over again. But we're in contention for the best international content creators who podcasts occasionally appear on porn websites. And so you can go to votegooners.us and send out a tweet nominating us, and maybe or maybe not we will win something.
And vote for Lee, too, because what are they up for? Best podcast?
Yeah, best podcast for same old AFC. Lewis, best muscles in the podcast industry, and then Dave for the Pineapple Award. So lastly, and I know this isn't a huge deal for our overseas listeners who aren't into American college basketball, but outside football, probably one of the 2 best sporting events along with the Stanley Cup playoffs is something called March Madness. It's going on right now, and at the Gooners Pod, we sponsored a bracket betting pool, which was open to Gooners around the world, and 25% of the proceeds, which turned out to be a little over $113, is going to the Gooners versus Cancer, which you will be hearing much about over the next few weeks as we head into the summertime. So, the first prize is going to be about $350. Andy, should I be growing that according to you? You always talk about.
Yeah, well, all I know of Jewish people, Mike, is that they're good with money. So I just assume if someone gives you $350 in 2 weeks, you can triple it.
I don't know if you guys know this, but do you know what his last name was not always Rhodes? He had a last name before he changed it to Rhodes. Anyone want to guess what it is?
Liechtensteiner?
No, it was Semitic. Anti-Semitic. All right, so anyway, we got some Arsenal things to talk about. Before the long interlull for Arsenal, our last podcast was 2 weeks ago before the triumphant comeback against Stade Rennes. So Andy wanted me specifically today to go minute by minute through that match. He loves doing the goal reviews, do a play-by-play of the match. So we'll spend the next 2.5 hours reliving that game. Sound good, Andy? Was that your plan for today?
No.
I honestly don't even remember the game. I know that we beat them AF, and now we have Napoli, which is probably not only the best remaining team in the competition, but the scummiest, most violent, most disgustingest city and the only city where I ever almost died and got separated from my parents 30 years ago. So that's a long story in of itself. But good luck to the local Islington businesses on the 11th of April, and Godspeed. Either of you England-based folks going to Napoli for the second leg?
I don't know. It all depends on what works like. I might have to work.
You could hold your own out there, but Lee would just be basically just food. You'd be tossed around like a rag doll.
I shall be in Dubai when that game goes off, so I should be watching it out there, like, you know. So
you're a few weeks late for Dubai.
Yeah,
they started the game
already. Got my dates wrong, didn't I? Instead of 20th of March, I put 20th of April. Like, printed it wrong.
Well, if any of you don't make it back from Napoli, I'll first dibs on your tickets.
Going out there, whoever going out there, good luck to them.
Yeah, I could see Claude beating down a ton of people though.
They're just a nasty fan base.
Yeah,
really bad. Because you can speak a bit of the lingo.
No, that's true. It's Caligieri. So your gut feeling on Napoli from a competitive standpoint, Dave. We'll start with you. Do we navigate this 2-leg match with the Monday night visit in between to Vicarage Road and Watford, or what are your thoughts on how this pans out?
I'm really curious what our tactics end up being, because it's been interesting so far the way Emery's adjusted tactics from match to match. I mean, we did it with Rennes. We adjusted tactics because Montreal was getting skinned in the first match for 90 straight minutes, and then in the second one he fixed it. So I'm curious if he knows anything about Napoli and could figure out what to do. The other thing I thought was interesting about the Napoli one too was the story that came out about Ancelotti kind of having it in for us because he kind of wanted the Arsenal job and felt like he got stiffed. So the suggestion was that he was really going to be out in this match or in this tie to kind of put it to us. There you go.
Yeah, I think he probably would be. But I mean, at this point, who doesn't want to be putting it to us?
Yeah, well, everyone does. I don't honestly, beyond that, I don't know what to make of it. I haven't been following the Italian league, so I don't know what to expect out of them.
Lee, do you know what to expect out of them? And what do you expect out of us?
I expect a tough game, but listen, how I look at it is if it was a Champions League draw, we're looking at going through the Champions League draw, you'd be looking at it and going, Napoli are one of the teams that you'd want to get. Mm. So look at it from the positives. You know what I mean? We're in a competition that we're second favourites to win, along with them. I also think that the draw's been kind to us. I know, like, we was drawn away first here, but I believe that our home form at the minute is so good and powerful that we could, if we can get 1 or 2-0 up in the first leg, that'll make the job a lot easier for us. So I feel very, very positive that we can go there. The one thing that worries me a little bit is the Watford game before that, because whatever way you look at it, over the next couple of weeks, it's going to pan out where we're going to be. Unbelievably, we could be this time next week above Spurs if results go our way, and possibly a chance of going into third place. I think we may have to settle for fourth, depending on other results. I'm not sure, but we're looking at it. We're in a very, very strong position there, and then you've got to play that on the Monday night, and then them on the Thursday. And Watford, powerful side, going to be physical, unbelievably. I'm not whinging by saying this, but can you see any other league playing the game on the Monday night and then on the Thursday? I can't. You know what I mean?
Can you see any other team in the Premier League being asked to do that?
I'm sure that Napoli will be playing on the Saturday or the Sunday, brought a day forward or whatever. And I think what makes it so more ridiculous is that we're at this moment in time trying to arrange for the Leicester game, but we don't know what day it is. We don't know if it's a Monday night or a Sunday. Now, if we get to the semi-final, that changes to the Sunday. So why couldn't they have done it with this game? I just don't understand that. It really is a weird one, but it is what it is. I still think that we've got to go. Priority is for the league top four. Make sure that we get into that via that. That will take pressure off in the games later on. If in the like when you look at it, Napoli second in their league, they're probably I know there's only 3 teams that go through in their league, but they look like cementing their place. So a little bit of pressure off of them at this moment in time. So we need to just keep our momentum going. I think our next 3 games in the league are so key with Watford away, Everton away, and Newcastle home. If we can get 9 points from them, that puts us in a fantastic position going forward, and then we can maybe have a little concentrate on the Europa League.
Yeah, who would have thought that maybe getting knocked out at this stage in the Europa League would not be the end of the world? I mean, most people thought that would be our only way in.
Yeah,
and here we are with every opportunity to make it in the traditional way. Lewis, I'm going to go to you for a score prediction. I'm going to put you on the spot. The two legs combined, how do you think this one ends?
A combined score. Can we not do one home and then away?
Well, I believe that advancing in the competition only matters from the combined score. So that's what.
He's had a long day, Mike. He's had a long day. Leave him alone. He's had a long day.
Sorry, Mr. Half Pint. I'll hurry up. I think it will be a 4-3 to us, just only because we're at home first and our home form is very, very good. But Napoli are equally as strong at home. You know, if you look back in their Champions League group, they beat. Did they beat Liverpool at home in the Champions League? But it's going to be really, really tough. But if we can manage to win the game without conceding, I think that is a very, very key factor here. Without conceding that away goal, then I'm very confident we'll go through.
It becomes one of those situations if we play it right in the first match that all you really need to do to blow the whole thing open is one away goal. You nick one there, and it puts all the pressure on them to have to really score 3 or 4 at home. And I'm praying that we can keep it off. You think we get past Napoli, Andy? If
we don't have a shitty first leg, as the Europa League seems. I mean, we can't play catch up against them.
No.
But as the boy said, home first leg. We're so strong at home. I think this is where we're going to see Emery really start tweaking the tactics. I think we can get through them, and I think Chelsea's a bigger banana skin for us than Napoli, personally. Just because we've just got history with them. I think we get through. I don't think it's going to be comfortable, but I think we get through.
Well, if it's comfortable against Napoli, that would be the shocker of the season. But
right.
Speaking of Napoli, in 2 weeks, in the Big Apple, a.k.a. New York City, on April 11th, right after the first leg of the Napoli matchup, we will be doing the first ever Gooners Pod live podcast emanating from the outstanding O'Hanlon's Pub on 14th Street. And I want to send a shout out to Arsenal NYC, specifically Jess and Cristiano, not the Cristiano that you guys know, but for approaching us and helping us to make this work. So the panel that night will probably be me after about 10 beers, which is always fun. Drew Der Commissar Thompson, who will be wearing a bag over his head because no one's he's like fucking Sia, the musical artist, where no one gets to see his face. And live in person, all the way from England, the one and only Thomas J. Canton, MP, who will apparently be shoehorning in plugs for his own podcast every 5 minutes while I spill beer after beer all over his shirt. But that should be fun. I mean, it's going to be a shit show, Andy. And
here's a question for you, Mike, because I know that when you drink via pod, you pee usually into a bucket under the table. How are you going to do that in a pub full of people?
It's called diaper. It's called diaper. That's what's going to be happening. I'm going to be pulling a Richard Christie if for those of you like Jeff Werner who know who that is. We may have more people in the panel than we have actually in the audience listening. We may have Sebi joining us as well because he lives up there, but we may need him to be our audience. So if that's the case, I'm sorry you're not going to be on the panel. But we're selling tickets on Ticketmaster for $0, and you can buy one, get 8 free. So get your, cancel your pedicures and massages and just get out there for this. Speaking of complete and total embarrassments, who's seen the videos from the new Scheithart Lane over the last couple of days?
Don't get me started on that.
I would like to get you started. Yeah.
Why are they crying?
They've never seen something more muggy and pathetic than that.
I mean, Jesus Christ, it's a fucking stadium. It's like the only thing they have to look forward to, and they're crying.
It's a new place to finish out of the running in. That's all it really is. And when is the last time you saw a grown man who wasn't a fucking ballerina doing the splits? I mean, if you've seen the video on the concourse, whatever the hell that was, these guys are absolutely pathetic. Lee, When's the last time you did the splits?
Running away from the Tottenham fans when there's about 100 chasing us. Now,
have you seen the videos?
I've got two theories on this. Like, you know what I mean, I'm going to be honest. Like, yes, it's a fantastic stadium, and yeah, it's better than the Emirates because it's brand spanking new. You know what I mean? But it doesn't mean to say, and people are afraid to say that. And but at the end of the day, because they've got a nice stadium and it's slightly bigger than ours, don't get away from the fact that they'll never be bigger than us. You know what I mean? We done this 10 years ago, or how long ago it is now? 13 years ago, is it? You know, and what you have to, you know, take credit from is that they've copied a lot of our stadium into theirs. You know, one end looks exactly the same. You know, but I don't envy them having
clock or something there.
I don't envy them having that stadium neither. You know what I mean? I also there's people saying, you know, like Tony put on Twitter, like, you know, when every year they come and smash our toilets up at the Emirates and all that, like, you know what I mean? But we're more classy in that. We won't do that. We just piss on the floor. We won't smash them up, like, you know what I mean? Like, but no, you know, good luck to them. They've got a nice new stadium, and I've got to say, I go past it every time I go to the Arsenal, like, you know, and I think it's an impressive stadium, you know what I mean? It's totally out of context to the rest of Tottenham, by the way, like, you know what I mean? It's like a spaceship's arrived and sat on a load of houses, but it's an impressive stadium. Good luck to them. I'm looking forward to going there next year, and you know, listen, if it gives us, we've had some great memories at the old one, let's make some new ones at the new one. That's how I look at it. And you know, as far as, listen, I know we've got some embarrassing fans ourselves. Come on, like, you know what I mean? So I
don't know, but
every team's got them. It's just that Tottenham have got more than most. That's how I look at it. Like,
anyone else want to make comments on the video? I mean, there were two videos that made their rounds. One of them was in the seating bowl. The other was just this absolute shit show of, I mean, little girls doing cartwheels and men doing, like, it looked like that Russian dance with the splits and
the weird reality of it, Mike, is that a large percentage of that fan base believe that this stadium is the final piece of them winning something.
Yeah, how'd that work for us?
Exactly, and they believe that this will be that stepping stone, and unfortunately, it won't be, because they went so far over budget. Their football is good, but it's not great. They don't have depth. They're going to lose. I mean, Eriksen's pretty much on his way out to Madrid. So at the end of the day, they're blinded by this stadium. But you know what? They're simple-minded people. And so if this is what keeps them entertained, then so be it.
Yeah, I think you've encapsulated that pretty well.
I think the crying video was fantastic, though. You know, it had to be the moment at which whoever's doing the tour, whoever's speaking to them, it reveals to all these fans that they're going to bring the same Tottenham team in to play there. Yeah. And what we witnessed was the disappointment of shit. Well, we thought this was a new start, but no, it's not.
So my question is when does the points deduction happen for them playing in two stadiums in the season when the rules specifically state they can't do that?
Remember, Andy, Daniel Levy has many friends with the FA, and, you know, Harry Kane is the golden boy captain of England. So that ain't going to happen. I think that man crying realised the exact moment. He was probably sitting in the same seat as when we went there to win the league at Shit Hart Lane, and he just realised, fuck. They've got the chance to do it all again in our brand new stadium.
Different view, same result.
Fuck them is what I say.
Ola says, I thought that was a Jewish dance. Mike, I seen you do that dance at the kebab shop. So, if you've seen me do that dance, I'm in better shape than I thought I was.
Jesus Christ, eh?
Yeah, if I do the split, I'm staying that way. Let's just put it that way. We haven't been on air since the real big news broke. So I just have to say, for the record, Monchi, you listen to me, you bald motherfucking wannabe footballer. You never scoring a goal in your entire goddamn career, and I don't care if you were a goalkeeper. You sucked at that too. You Roma-destroying piece of shit. You turncoat, unambitious, feeder league motherfucker. Go fuck yourself. I'm done with you. Now, frankly, despite the way it looked, I actually really never cared whether Monchi came to Arsenal or not. I just liked his name, and now I think it's a stupid name. But did I jinx a good thing, David? Does it matter? Do we feel like Arsenal once again took a swing and missed and didn't get their guy, or is this just really not that important, and we're better off with Super Kev as director of football, like I've always said?
We might be better off because I don't know if Sinelli was going to hand over the reins to someone else and say, you make these footballing decisions. I don't know if Emery really wants that. I mean, do you need the triumvirate? I don't really know. I didn't know anything much about Monchi until you started plattering on about him.
Frankly, I didn't know anything about him either.
You made it sound like you did. And I thought, okay, well, I must be behind something here because I don't know anything about this guy. But yeah, I don't know. I honestly, I really do wonder how much it matters. It's just something I hadn't paid that much attention to until all that started happening.
Yeah, people think I'm like they were checking with me, like, are you okay? Is everything gonna be all right? And I'm like, sometimes I intentionally exaggerate things. I don't know if anybody's noticed that or not, but you had some feelings, Lee, about Gazidis last summer when he was on his way out. So the fact that I always like to go to you when it comes to the backroom staff, the Monchi, Overmars, Super Kev triumvirate. Does it matter who we end up with?
No, I don't think it does. I think Kevin made a great point saying about someone within the network of Arsenal already, which was a good point. I think if we'd be honest, do we really know what Mark Overmars does? Really, he's done well with Ajax, of course. But the reason that we'd like, that I'd like him is because of what he's done at Arsenal over the last few weeks. We don't really know. It's not like he's, a star striker that you can look back and see he's banging in goals. It's, I don't think it. It's modern day football, isn't it? All of a sudden, the director of football or the recruitment people are becoming as important as the players and whatever. And I don't really see it like that. You identify players. Is it such a hard thing to identify? We need a centre half, you know what I mean, and go out there and get them. And we need a wide player. Does it need someone like Muchi, whatever his poxy name is, to go and sort that out? No, it doesn't. I think that it's a job that someone will have to do. And quite frankly, it didn't bother me whether he was coming or not. Really, I don't give a monkeys. I didn't know him before you went on about it. Basically, before you started going on about him, I never heard of him. You know what I mean? I thought it was a pack of crisps. You know what I mean? So that's the end of it. You know what I mean? So I don't see it as a problem. I'm not really bothered about it.
Andy, look at the reach that we have. I mean, no one had heard of Monchi, and then everyone heard of Monchi through our podcast. So we must be actually getting
it's what we do, Mike. People need to start showing us a little bit more respect.
It's the evolution of things. But yeah, Monchi can go S a D. And if Amanda will just release Super Kev from his contract, I think we'll see him sitting in the office next. Sebi made a hilarious picture, by the way, of Super Kev sitting in an office with Kroenke in the background and like a mug that said like best director of football. I mean, it's great. I'll retweet it out again. But lastly, and Dave, I'm going to go to you about this, and Andy as well, because it's an American-based thing. But we will be learning tomorrow officially. But I mean, there's been enough leakage going on that I don't think we're getting ahead of ourselves here. But the Arsenal are coming back to the States for the first time since 2016, which is a tour that is best remembered for giving birth to this podcast. And I don't mean like a C-section. I mean, it was like a pure vaginal birth to this podcast. They're coming for 10 days in July. They're hitting up two of our hometowns. Both of our hometowns. They start in Andy's house and they end in mine. That's unbelievable.
Those sons of bitches listen, and they get it, Mike.
They do. They start in Denver to play against some Sunday League team. Then they go to Los Angeles to play the Serge Gnabry Bayern Munich team. Los Angeles, the home of Andy's team of agents and lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte, North Carolina is the next stop, the home of Ric Flair, to play the newly Monchi-free Roma. And last but not least, a little derby. I know that's not the official word, but a little derby against a team called Real Madrid in Washington, D.C., the home of Michael S. Feinberg-Lichtsteinerwitz. So everybody's hanging out in this very basement that you're seeing right now, and can have their own picture up on the wall. But summer tour is always a good time. Can't wait to hear about the fan events, the orgies. It's going to be a great week and a half, Dave. I'm sure we'll see you all over the place as we always do. Lee, you're coming, right?
When is that? When actually are the dates? Because I'm in Turkey in July.
You are Turkey. July 15th is the first game. The 23rd is the final game. So you got to make it out here. The Casa Rhodes and Casa Feinberg are waiting. We can offer you everything you need at OAP rates. We have halves of everything. So, Lewis, we've already talked about this, but I've come out to visit you like 18 times in the last 2 years, and you've come out here once for like 3 days. Come on.
I've just
and you made me exercise.
Just been told that we're in Turkey from the 21st, so we can't do it. So,
Lee, you might be the worst friend that Mike has.
Yeah, do you know? It's a bit annoying, really, because we booked up this to go to with a load. There's about 30 of us going, so.
Can you get like a Turkish refund or something like that and come to the US?
And then bloody arse.
Turkish refund sounds like a sexual move.
I ain't gone to America for a few years, so I'm going to have to miss that, which is but there you go.
You were here in August.
Yeah, I know. They didn't. It'd been nice if they'd come over in August, but they decided to kick off the season, didn't they?
Those selfish pricks.
Oh no, they're fucking out. But I am coming to going to Vegas in September. So.
Oh, well, look at that! Thanks for telling me.
Yeah, so I was just telling you now. I only just booked it up today. So
it's only an hour flight for me.
Mr. Worldwide
from the international break, So. I'm not on international duty, so I've been released. So
Lee is Mr. Worldwide. He certainly is. David, have the juices started flowing yet? I mean, I know for me, like I've started booking airfare and
will you go to all three, Mike? Then will you go to?
Yeah, I'll be there for I'm squeezing every last drip out of the. I'm going to be annoying people about Gooners versus cancer. I'm going to be doing a live podcast into people's ears individually. It's going to be a show. But David, I mean, you follow the art.
He introduces himself as Mike from the Gooners podcast, and if the person doesn't react with knowing who he is, he just walks away.
I have a T-shirt that says, "If you don't you understand who I am?" And then if they're like looking at me like no, then I walk away. David, are you starting the travel plans, or are you waiting till the official announcement?
I'm waiting for the official announcement because this stuff changes. I mean, I'm sure at this point it's settled. The dates are there until they're announced, and we know what the events are. I'm not doing it.
Is there any possibility that we find out that instead of they are playing in the International Champions Cup, but they're playing it in Turkey? So that Lee can go.
That happened last year, if you remember. Actually, they were announced at the ICC, and people started freaking out.
Asia.
All these in the knows started saying, "Yep, there it is. It's done. It's going to be LA against Dortmund. I have it on firsthand knowledge." And then the next day, it was Singapore.
We're in Laos.
Yeah, and so
Madagascar.
I'm waiting for official announcements. I'm waiting for events to get announced, because the events are going to be, around all of those things. And obviously the, Arsenal America, which I'm involved with, and the local branches are going to be doing things. And I want to know what those are going to be so that I don't want to screw it up like I've done before. When they came to New York a couple of years ago, I flew in the day after that thing at the Barclays Center because I planned my trip, and then the Barclays Center thing got announced.
It was the Izod Center, and it wasn't that good, actually.
It was, it wasn't great, but it was. Yeah, it was cool. Fun. All I do know, Mike, is that there is a certain British woman whose house I'm in right now who may sing the national anthem in Denver.
Oh yeah, your mom?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and when I say national anthem, I mean the British one, the English one,
the good one.
Yeah, the more superior one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, your mom's coming home. Your mom actually is coming home. No. All right. Well, shout out to, we got to get to the highlight of the Interlull podcast, but before doing that, I just want to give a shout out to the chat. Bulgarian Gooners in there, Ola's in there. Couldn't be on the podcast, but he's in the podcast. Kerry McCollum, Michael Hernandez, Jeffrey Werner. Shut up, sit down. David Ziegler's in the chat. He's in two places at one time. Sedain Syed, who submitted a user questions in there, and we got a few more. So thanks for joining us.
Hi,
Matt
Ola.
Walker. Matt Walker's there, and he is going to Napoli, so it was nice knowing you, Matt. It was very brief, too brief. I've been informed by our attorneys that this will be the final appearance of this Interlull game. It's been so popular during the Interlulls that all of the other podcasts banded together and sued us to keep us from doing it anymore. But we have one more opportunity to play. What is more important than Arsenal? I think you've played before. I know you've played before, Lee. Lewis, this might be your first or second time.
Second time.
All right. And Dave, since you just discovered podcasts about 2 months ago, I'm not sure this is – basically we're gonna have 4 different scenarios, very difficult scenarios to have to choose from, and you just got to tell us, which is more, whether there's something more important than Arsenal or if Arsenal is more important than anything else. So we'll do a round table based on how I see people in the chat, which begins with Dave. The first scenario: scientists have discovered a parallel universe to ours. Very exciting. They're going through the transmission still, but in one of them, they've definitely determined that there's a radio transmission that says Arsenal win their 12th league title in a row, and it doesn't look like they'll lose another one anytime soon. Would you risk traveling to this universe so that you could just live amongst that reality if you knew you could never come back to this one ever again? Dave.
This sounds like my run on Football Manager 08. I think I won like 12 or 13 in a row. I've already.
You didn't even have to get off your ass for that, did you?
No, it's on the laptop. It's sitting right down there. Do I make the? No.
You'd rather stay here and lose?
No. I don't want to go there and come in on the tail end of having won 12 in a row. I want to stay here and experience winning the first one again in 13 years.
All right. Well, so you're breaking it down to they're not going to continue to win at that pace, even though the guy said he's assured you that they're going to win.
Well, I don't know who the fuck that guy is. He could be a podcaster.
In which case, not know anything that he's doing. All right, Lee.
Munchi, couldn't it? Could be Monchi, whatever his bloody name is.
Right, exactly.
Lee, are you taking the tube to another universe?
I'm beginning to like Dave. I've never met him before, but he's actually come out with a very good point there. What's the point of going there on their 12th? You want to be there for their first, don't you? So I'm with Dave on that one. I think I will give it a miss and stay where I am, and hope that Arsenal will win it and enjoy it for the first time, and then hopefully win it.
Andy, you might have to break the news to Justin that he fucked up on this one.
Oh, well,
most of his questions are amazing.
No. It's a stupid question.
There we go. Question. I love how you're not even banging it on anything. You're just waving it in the
air. Question. In this alternate universe, wouldn't my life be the exact same as is now?
Well, it is a parallel universe.
So am I 12 years in the future with the life I have now?
And it's a game. For fuck's sake, it's a game. You know.
You know what, Lee? To you,
it's the same exact life, except your life.
When you go here, don't worry about anything you want.
To you, it's a game. To me, it's science. Answer the
question.
It's
the same exact universe, except your wife looks like Susan Boyle instead of the punching wife that you have.
Yeah, no, mistake.
Just based on that.
At least she could sing.
Yeah, she could sing you to sleep and cradle you in her arms every night. Yeah. Lewis, what universe are you going to?
If the 13th game were the 13th league title was at White Hart Lane in that new stadium, I am taking that ticket and I'm leaving this universe behind just to be there to see all them Tottenham fans cry like the man in the video.
Yeah, that's a good point. It didn't say that in the question though, did it?
Well, I'm adding it. Since you lot added in your own little bit, I'm adding in my own little bit.
Oh, that's fair enough, Lewis. I'm not going to argue with you.
I would definitely do it, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to that alternate universe because in that alternate universe, people love overweight people, and so I'm getting Arsenal and any chick that I possibly want. So, all right, the second one. This might be a little tougher and more better written, much more classy question. He's getting it ready. I could see something waving on the screen, and it's I could see something long and straight coming from Lee's undergarment area. All right, you're 18 again, or in Lewis's case, you're just Lewis. You're living at home, and it's the day of the FA Cup final between Arsenal and Spurs. You remember right before you have to leave that the tickets are on your parents' bed. You walk into the room to snag them, and your mom, dad, and your neighbors are all fucking on the tickets. Classy show we got here going on.
Why are the neighbors there?
Because I can't just let it be.
Is it not bad enough that it's mom and dad going at it? The neighbors have to be there?
Do you reach in there?
It's just as bad as that, wasn't it, really? Yeah.
I don't like going halfway on things. Do you reach in there and pull them out? Or just skip the game and watch it from home? David. Or no, we'll go the opposite way. Lewis. How could this be the last time we play this?
Oh, mate. Why? Who thinks of these questions, by the way?
There's a group of...
No comment.
There's a group of men.
Guarantee one of Mike's. This is.
Oh yeah, there's a group of men who make these up.
Especially when he mentions the neighbours, it just is Mike all over.
I would have to. No, I couldn't. No. You're fucked up. No,
you're not going in the game.
Lewis, sex is part of life, man, and you just gotta, you know.
Which I get, but it's your mum and your dad. And the neighbors, like the neighbors, I'm not really.
Right. Part B. If the neighbors aren't there, do you reach in?
I'm saying, Mum, Dad, I'm coming in. I need the tickets. Like, could you just, relax for a little bit?
Can you relax for a little bit?
And I'll be like, we're talking about this later on because.
Just stop pumping for 1 second while I get those tickets, please.
Question. What position are they in, Mike?
Andy always has a follow-up question.
No, I've answered the question now. Goodbye.
No, I'm asking Mike a question. What position are they in as I enter the room?
Reverse cowgirl, of course. It's always reverse cowgirl. That or center half.
What's that one?
Yeah, I knew that would bug David. All right, so yeah, what do you? Does the position really matter as to whether you go in?
Oh, I'm just going in, grabbing the tickets, and leaving.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to do that too. I mean, it's the FA Cup against Spurs. You can unsee things sometimes.
I mean, I never have to talk to them ever again.
That's true. All right, Lee.
Well,
now, in Lee's case, they're like 85 years old, so that adds another element.
My old neighbour, she was quite nice, so I took my clothes off and walked in. Just, hopefully won the double.
See, I added that for you. I added that just for you.
Got a cup double, you know what I mean? So, beat the Spurs and beat my neighbour and all like that. I mean, no, I'd go straight in. Wouldn't even, no hesitation. Move aside, wipe them, and off I'd go.
Wipe them off. All right. Yeah, I imagine they're going to be in those little plastic containers that you wear around your neck. But now, if they were wearing them around their neck in one of those things, do you actually remove it? All right, Dave.
Just come in and just say like, "Can I have the tickets, Dad?" You know what I mean? I don't know, but I'll be straight in there, like, you know what I mean? There's no two ways about that.
All right, so no one's missing the game yet?
Even if it was a league game, I'd be straight in there. Like, I'm worried about a cup game, even if it was a league game.
Lewis is missing the game. All right, so he's watching at home while Andy and
who's
Lee
watching at home?
Lewis isn't going to pull them out. He's not reaching in there. If the neighbors weren't there, he might. But
I did say I would go in, get them, and say we're talking about this when I get back.
Oh, okay. Why would you want to talk about that when you get back?
Because I want to know why the hell
he wants to be educated.
Would you know what they were doing? All right, David.
The question said when you're 18, right? You're 18 years old in this scenario?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's true. I did say that.
Well, if I think back to when I was 18 years old, now I probably have a reaction like Lou, but I'm not 18 anymore. I kind of don't give a shit anymore. So I think at this point, I'd have the same reaction as Lee. Like, get the fuck out of the way. Give me the tickets. I'm out of here. But there's probably there's an age thing there. So to answer that question, if I'm 18, I probably wouldn't have. But
yeah, like I said,
maybe I did.
If it was Lee's parents, I mean, we'd be watching a couple of centenarians having sex, and who wants that? All right, so we're pretty much all going into the game, and we're sitting in a section for like mentally just like shaken individuals.
The game, we're not coming home.
Drink ourselves to death that night. All right, number 3, Tottenham's new stadium is open. It's the 38th match of the Premier League calendar against Huddersfield, and they're 2 points ahead of Manchester City, who themselves have an easy home matchup against Fulham. You've received a premonition in your sleep that says Spurs will lose that game and blow the title, but only if you attend the game by yourself amongst the Spurs fans wearing only a Sol Campbell Arsenal jersey and assless chaps. If anyone needs to know what that is, I'll show you. I'm wearing them. Do you take one for the team, or are you just going to try to let fate pan out its way? David. Now, you've been known to wear some interesting garments before.
Not assless chaps. Not assless.
Have you ever worn assless chaps?
Oh, no.
Okay. You'd fit right in with those muggy Spurs fans that we saw in the videos yesterday, but you would be wearing a Sol Campbell Arsenal jersey. So
I think if you had said Sol Campbell Spurs jersey, I would have said no. Sol Campbell Arsenal jersey, yeah, I probably do. Yeah. So
you're supporting the club, knowingly going to get your probably your assless chaps kicked, but you're gonna take one for the team to have them blow the title.
If we're assuming that I truly believe in premonitions and stuff, and that I think that actually makes a difference,
we have to assume for the sake of this game that when I say something's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Okay, yeah, then yeah, I probably do, and just for the fun of it. Although there is kind of a sideline here that they're blowing it no matter what you do.
So you could be wasting your one.
Yeah, it might have been just an absolute waste of time. It was going to happen regardless. So yeah.
All right, Lee, Sol Campbell Arsenal jersey and assless chaps amongst your neighbors.
I've been to games when we've drawn. You know what I mean? And I've been lucky to come out alive. You know what I mean? And even games that they've won. Do you imagine if if they've lost a game and you've got it's like Red Bull to a rag, isn't it? Like that, I mean, so
that's the point. I mean, are you ready to take that beating or run your ass off?
Take that beating, they'd kill you. You know what I mean? I think you'd be.
Those guys doing the splits do not look like they could kill anybody, but I do.
Listen, you wouldn't know anything about it afterwards because you'd be half dead because they'd give you a right good kick in, like, you know what I mean? But no, so I'm gonna stay firmly at home and hopefully they lose it. I know what they're like.
I mean, they're playing Huddersfield, and
so they're going to
win that game. They're going to win that game in the 93rd minute unless you go there. So it's on you, man.
Well, this is true. A Tottenham fan, right, can walk around the Emirates with a Spurs shirt on and be safe. An Arsenal fan walking around the new ground or the old ground with an Arsenal shirt and wouldn't get more than 20 yards. I'm telling you that now. Like.
I heard that there was at least at Wembley there was a little less of that in this most recent visit. That people were kind of mugging them off and getting away with it without any kind of a consequence.
It just depends where you was. You know what I mean? So yeah. It's not a nice experience.
It's like going to Philadelphia with a.
It's like going to
Cowboys. Yeah, like going to Napoli with a "I hate Napoli" T-shirt.
Yeah, like with saying Maradona's gay, saying like that, you're in trouble. Like, you know what I mean? So I think I'd give that a wide berth. Knowing what it's like, even when you lose, like so. No, I think like my life is more important.
It is now, anyway. After the last couple of years, Lewis. You're a guy that can handle himself in a crowd.
Not with this bloody Weetabix knee, I can't. To be fair, if you look back in history, all they had to do was beat a relegated Newcastle, got beat 5-1. So the chances of them winning a pressure game like that on the 38th game is really slim. So
well said, Lewis. I should have said that myself.
I wouldn't go. I would sit happily at home with my half pint, pinky in the air, with the TV on at final whistle, laughing my ass off because they ain't got the balls to do it.
All right, and Andy,
I'll do it.
You do it.
I do it.
You're a guy who
because
I've heard him cry out in pain when
more stupid than you to do it.
Yeah, you'll be an instant legend.
I've sat next to him during a pedicure, and he cried out in pain, like literally cried because the thing went
really,
a little too close to his nail. Yeah,
really, Mike. You want me to pull up the video?
All right, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Let me
just
hear about
agreed to ask those chaps way too fast.
Let me hear how hard you are.
David, what I do on my Thursdays every third month is between me and my other guy friends. Okay, so just chill out.
The most liberal use of the word "guy" I've ever heard. So you're going there. You're going to do it. Assless chaps.
Are you going?
Right. I'm doing it but only because when somebody starts pounding on me, I barely feel it. I have that much padding, so like it's going to take it would take a knife, which I don't mean to make light of in the current environment, but and I'm going to take my chances. They're not the way I read the question / wrote the question.
So what I'm hearing is you need 2 or 3 dudes to pound you hard before you start feeling it.
All right, now we have to put this on Pornhub. We'll send over the waivers to the 3 of you sometime after the show. All right, last one. And I'm starting now to see why this is the last episode of this. Arsenal have made the Champions League final next year, which, by the way, Lee, is in Turkey. So again, you're going at the wrong time. To play against Trabzonspor, which and Kevin Campbell will have a hard time deciding between, I believe. Tickets to the Champions League final are released from a special vending machine. Do you use the vending machine to get the tickets and go to the game, David? I may have left out something. Hold on.
What kind of a question is that?
Oh, yeah.
This makes no sense.
One small catch. The vending machine doesn't accept money. It only accepts photos of Claude, DT, and Kelechi tag teaming your mom. How about that Champions League final? Now, you go to the Champions League final or not?
No. You've thrown out the wrong list of guys. No way.
There's a right list of guys?
You give her, yeah, probably. You give her, I put Giroud in the mix.
Giroud, Kino, and
Kino? What we get Kino out of this?
I don't know. He seems like a trustworthy guy.
Sure, yeah. But you give her Giroud and Ramsey and Podolski or whoever the girls like.
And those guys,
let her enjoy it. I could give a shit. But
hey, you don't know that DT isn't a sensible lover? Maybe he's maybe that forehead of
sensitive.
his.
Go wait. Go on, Andy.
Yeah, maybe that forehead of his.
Tell us more.
Really treats the ladies right.
How does a forehead treat the ladies?
Hey, man, I don't have a forehead like that to work with, so I don't know, but I'm just
I just
saying.
want to point out, Andy's last contribution just a few minutes ago was what he does on the third Thursday of every third month with his guy friends. Now he's talking about what kind of a sensible lover someone.
Every third week.
Uh-huh. There's more detail there. Keep going. Yeah.
Now Lee is very close with these 3 gentlemen. How close are you? How about that Champions League final?
Lee, do you call any of them daddy?
I'm not going to Champions League final. I'm going to give it a miss. I'll tell you like that. There's certain things you can do. So I love the Arsenal, but there's certain things I can do. And playing with DT is not one of them. Like that. I mean, so
you don't have to be involved in that. I hope you're not going to be involved in that, considering your mom's involved. But
no,
but you don't want Claude to just get some finally.
Claude, I spend a bit of time with Claude, and you know what I mean. I love him, but no.
I have a picture. I have a photo of Claude and Joey Murphy that almost would have gone into the vending machine. But all right, so you're skipping the final, Lewis. I'm sorry, we're asking you this again. Your mom is the star of this podcast, apparently.
Knowing my mum, I'll be like, one, how the fuck do you know these three? I don't even like football. Two, my mum would absolutely slap them to the middle of next week. And three, I love my mum more than I love Arsenal, so no.
Yeah, well said, Lewis.
Doing that, I have too much love and respect for my mum, and if she ever was to have see this podcast, and she hears me say, I would actually. Oh gosh.
I'm waiting for the day to use that one.
If my mum happened to see this podcast, then it doesn't matter how old I am, she will give my ass a beating for saying I would submit that picture to the vending machine. So
I love how it's just whether you submit the picture or not. It's not stopping the actual event from happening.
The whole event is not happening. You know what I mean? But it's not the events happen. You just got to give a photo in. Like, you know what I mean? Well, if the events happened, you might as well give the bloody photo in. Like, you know what I mean? So the event's not happening.
And Andy, first of all, my first question is your mom upstairs or downstairs right now?
Yes.
In your house. Okay. B, do you need to inform her of anything? Are you going to the Champions League final?
I'm not going to the final.
That's where you draw the line.
Yeah.
So you're reaching onto the bed with the neighbors. You're wearing the assless chaps to the new.
I mean, you never said the neighbor was DT, so.
That's true.
That's enough.
I can just see him criticizing her the whole time while he's doing it too. Like
right. Yeah.
All right. Say, Claude, it's time to go. All right. Well, that was the final, and thankfully the final episode of What's More Important Than Arsenal. We found that most things are not as important as Arsenal. So thank you for hanging in there with that game. We got some user questions, most of which have come from one of the people on the podcast.
I didn't know I was going to be on.
Well, the most prolific user questioner in our audience is the one and only David Ziegler. So we have probably 70% of our questions are from David, so we will see what his answers to his own questions are. But first question is just for Andy from Mike in Virginia. Is it coming home?
It is coming home, yes.
How it was almost a Bayern Munich-esque, 10-1 aggregate in the last two games?
The Nations Cup is coming home.
Well, no, this is Euro qualifying.
Oh, yeah, that's coming home too. It's all coming home.
You're not giving us well. Please don't be on that wave. Please.
Lewis, listen, be
Have
a
some
patriot.
pride in your country, man.
Be a patriot.
Have some pride in our nation.
I already know lead judges can't get over to the fact that some Mongoloids play for England. I get that. But, Lee, I expect more out of you. You're a modern-day man. Lee is still stuck with the 50s and that way of thinking,
Yeah, I think you meant Lewis should be
oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah. Lewis, you get it. Move on, buddy.
All right.
It's coming out.
It's not. Okay. They always, when you look at the World Cup semi-final, they just buckled under pressure. When there's no pressure, England are fantastic.
All he had to do was pass the ball,
Times are changing.
We'll see. Let's see in June. We'll see in June.
We will.
Like Tony always says, all you got to do is pass the ball.
There's a lot of Tottenham in that squad. No wonder it buckled.
Yeah. England Hotspur, Jeffrey Warner calls them. All right, from Conquistador #1 in San Antonio. Is Gunnersaurus male or female? Are you sure, and how do you know? Now, Lee, you're like mates with just about everybody involved with Arsenal.
Yeah.
Does Gunnersaurus, is he included in that? Have you ever met?
I know that he's a male.
You know that he's a male. How do you know that?
For showing that I know,
Lee, are you Gunnersaurus?
I have not. No.
Okay. I have seen Gunnersaurus and Lee in the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
I have never seen him and Carl Jenkinson at the same time.
He is a fella.
He's a lad.
He's a man.
Andy.
Well, if Lee's saying he's a man, who am I to disagree?
Well, we actually spent some time in a lift together, and I saw her penis. So yeah, it's definitely. I'm not going to go any further than that, but all right, we won't go around the entire panel for that one. I don't mean to give short shrift to that, but from Sadain Syed, who joined us in the chat, thank you. By the way, thank you, Dial Square One. This podcast is not a pleasant visual experience. When we started doing the video versions of the podcast at the beginning of this season, we warned you that it was not going to be
Lewis,
a pleasant
take your
visual
shirt
experience.
off. We got to up the game.
Yes.
You need to start paying me some bucks, boy. The first one's free.
First, the little taste is free.
Oh,
that should be the first review of this podcast on any of your platforms.
Just the first one's free?
No, this podcast is not a pleasant visual experience.
Oh, okay.
Well, we got the title of this pod.
I might have to change that from "We never wanted you, Monchi" to. All right, from Sadain Sayed, a serious question here. Why not give Danny Welbeck a 2 to 3 year contract? Because we have to buy a third striker anyway. I guess he's not counting on Eddie Nketiah stepping up. If he turns out to be half decent, even for one season, we can keep him. Otherwise, sell him for some cash. Right now, he will be going out for nothing. I mean, we've seen Koscielny be useful coming back from major injuries, which surprised us. But we've also seen people who we've stayed with him too long with repetitive, serious injuries. So what do we do in this situation? It's his second time out for like 9 months. Let's go to you, Andy, first.
Yeah, if he wasn't,
you just started talking, and it makes it logical to go to you.
Yeah, no. If he didn't have his injury record, then I think he makes sense to re-sign because he does score goals. But he's too injury prone, and we pay him too much money. I mean, for $125,000 a week, we can get a striker who's going to actually push for the first team. And no, there's too much. We're just throwing away cash at this point.
Yeah, and while the question is good and the theory is good, it kind of ignores the wages that we have to pay a guy, because you're not going to go down. And I mean, he's not going to say, "Yeah, I've been injury prone. I may be a risk. I'm going to take $40,000 a week," when when you've been making 80, 90, 100, whatever it is. And the ability to sell him for cash just because he's got 2 more years on his contract. If he gets hurt again, or if he just isn't fit enough to make a contribution, you're not going to get much cash for him.
No.
Who's going to want a guy that that's in that situation? I mean, I guess whoever signs Andy Carroll on a regular basis would be. But I mean, yeah. So I mean, in concept, I love the guy. I'd love to have him back healthy as an option off of the bench. But after this kind of an injury, who knows? Anyone else want to weigh in on Welbeck? Does anyone think that we should keep him?
I don't think we should. I mean, if we want to, level up, so to speak, we need to be ruthless. And we spent far too long in the past, relying on players' potential and them not ever reaching their potential, and, injury-prone players and throwing away cash. We're trying to move forward, not really, stay in the past. And as much as I love Danny Welbeck, because, he works hard for you, he was on. It was just a shame that he got the injury when he did, because it was quite good timing not good timing, but his form was at the right time where we could afford to rest Lacazette or Aubameyang and bring in Danny Welbeck in for the Europa League games. But I just feel for Danny, his time's up with us, even though he was in Dubai with the team. I wish him the best of luck, but at the moment we can't afford to be throwing away free money like that for another 2 seasons.
Anybody think we should keep him?
No.
Seeing as how there's none, we'll move on. Question from the chat from Michael Hernandez for Lee, while we have you, because I know your podcast is going to be starting very soon. Why do you believe some fans have such a negative view on AFTV? Personally, I don't watch all interviews, but I don't feel as strong against it as so many others.
That's a good question.
To answer that question. I've heard you comment on this before, but
it is a good question. I see both sides. I really do. I can see why people dislike it. I think for me, it's lost a bit of its rawness to when it first started, if I'll be honest. So I think there is a little bit of jealousy involved for certain things, because, you know, who wouldn't be jealous with the guys going out to Dubai in a minute on a jolly up watching their beloved Arsenal. It's it's a fantastic thing to have done, and things like that, doing question and answer things and things like that. It's very, very popular. Like, like from my own point of view, you get to meet ex-players and players through that know you. So that's an unbelievable experience. But I do see the downside of it. I do see when people come back and say, and put an argument towards it. You know, there's a lot of hate. What I don't like about Arsenal Fan TV, and it's something that I don't think Robbie has ever addressed, is that there is so much hate for it. And, you know, realistically, there shouldn't be that hate. I get hate because of jealousy and hate for it, but there's a genuine hate because of some of the things that go on there, some of the antics that go on. You know, one that gets on people's nerves when I talk to fans is that the fans are not real fans. You know, it's not what the fan base is about. You know, and because there's characters on there, some of them that are just out for their own game, and I get that. But the other side of it is, and what I can't say with the haters that hate it, and I do speak to a few of them that say about it, and I'll go, well, don't watch it then. Why do you watch it? And it's on my timeline, it's on this and on that. Well, even if it's on your timeline, you can just flick through it. You don't have to actually watch. No one forces you to watch it, and that's the thing that I can't understand. Why, if you know, like some people go, well, I don't know about it, and that's fine because they're obviously not watching it. But some people do watch it to just criticise it and make assumptions of it. I know that they're in the talks at the moment to do a show where they're going to talk about why there is hate and you know, so that they are trying to address it. You know, but it's just silly little things like, you know, sometimes they do things. You know, I don't know if you've seen it with the little gimmicks with Claude coming up and all that. Like, you know, now some people are going to jump on the bandwagon of that and go, it's embarrassing, it's this and it's that, you know. And like, listen, we've all had a great laugh about what's been going on in the Spurs with the things like that. Well, you've got to flip that to the other side. Is that there's you know, embarrassing things that happen on Arsenal Fan TV, and other fans then are starting to take the mickey, which then offends the Arsenal fans. So I get it from all sides of the story. But the fact of the matter is, football's changed, guys. It's changed from when I went into the
so
day.
Has society in general. I mean, just what the method through which people get their entertainment, their information, it isn't what it was 10 or 20 years ago, or even 5 or 6 years ago. There's a generation of people who just want raw, sometimes negative. They want that kind of thing, and people of an older generation or a truer generation of how they consume information just resent that, and I think they blame it on Arsenal Fan TV. There
is that, but then there is the older fan like myself that sort of, you know, I'm not going to lie. Before I went on it, I quite enjoyed it. But what I speak to a lot of fans, and they sit down and they go, Lee, this is what they don't like is that. And I get to a certain degree that they're looking to get views by any shape or form, like, you know. So not necessarily, you know, we're put, you know, DT gets the biggest view, so we'll get him on, blah 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 blah, so that they get them out. And people think sometimes it's about content rather than views, but you have to see it from Robbie's point of view, and I do see it from this point of view, and it's a very, very thin line, is that it is a business. You know what I mean? It is now. From when it first come on there, it was, and this is the thing, when it first come on there, it was more of a hobby, just to fun things, so you could get to games and whatever. But then it became a business, and then it changed. You know, like sponsorship, you've got different things going on where I think views sometimes outweigh the other side of it, if you know what I mean. So like the business side of it outweighs what you think, because then becomes a bit of a problem. And I just feel that Arsenal, Robbie and the guys that run it have just got to just have a little look at that. And what upsets me as a person that goes on it is that you get tied with the same brush, if you know what I mean. Like, oh, you're all a part of that. Well, there's some things on there that I don't agree with, and there's things that I do agree with on it. Like, you know what I mean. But there are some good people on it. There are some fans that have got good opinions that will address what most of the Arsenal fan base think about. But because of a section of the hate of it all, that gets overlooked. Yeah, and that's the problem.
It shouldn't be positioned as being the official voice of the fans, of the supporters, because
and rightly so, it shouldn't be. There's. No, and I don't think. And to be honest, they don't actually do that. They don't actually say, well, we are the voice. You know what I mean? Like the fact of the matter. Listen, guys, without. I don't really want to say too much, but like everybody can go on it. Yeah, everybody can go on it. But if you want to go on it, it's going to take you an hour to get on there, when it's only going to take DT 5 minutes. When DT rocks up,
he strolls in and strolls out. I mean, I had to basically attach myself to you after the Palace game so that I could get a minute on there without having to wait around an hour, so I could try to.
Yeah, so like there is priority. It's like, how can you say? The only thing I can say is like a little bit like when you go on a plane, there's priority boarding. You know what I mean? Like like there is priority for certain people. So when they turn around to you and say, "Oh yeah, anybody can go on there," you can, but if you're prepared to wait for how long, which is but that's the way that it is. You know what I mean? And that's something that's happened. You know what I mean? I don't class myself as any better than any other supporter, but like sometimes I've got to be somewhere. The train's leaving at 11 o'clock at night. I've got to get on that train. I have to say, look, can you get me on before that? If not, I don't go on it. You know what I mean? So, but there's those sort of things there. The trouble with it. Say the trouble with it. That's not the wrong word to say. It's got so big. You know what it's like when you go outside for the videos for it all. Like there's 300 people around it watching it.
It's kind of grown out of control from what it originally thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
so exactly. you end up really kind of, it either turns into a spectacle or you rein it back, which ultimately isn't a good business decision. But as far as the hate is concerned, I mean, would you say that? And I'll open this up to the other three of you. Should calls for it to be going away be? I mean, I just think that's wronger than anything else. Just ignore it if you don't like it.
Yeah, Lee hit it on the head. If you don't want to watch it, don't. I don't watch it. That's no disrespect to Lee. I consider him a friend. I don't watch it because first, half the people on there, and I say this, and I've said this to you, Mike, all along, half the people on there outside of the two Lees are characters. And they've built these characters to go on there. I'm sure they're great people in private, but a lot of them don't act the way they act in private when they go on that show. And so they've built these characters, and a lot of the hate is born out of jealousy, and that's all it is. It's they get a platform to speak their word, and people are jealous about it. And unfortunately, there are certain people that we consider close friends who take it very personal. And there are people on there that want to go on there to speak their voice, like Lee, and I think and Lee Gunner as well. But there are people who go on there to be characters, and so they become this spokesperson for the club when they're not. And so I think it's
and their characters have fans and
exactly, and that's not how it is. I mean, there's not once where Judges has gone on that show and not come on our podcast and said the exact same thing in the exact same way. Yeah. We've both met him in person. He says the exact thing. He sounds the same. It's just, that's what it is. It's characters. People are becoming famous, and there's people making money off of it.
And I'll wrap this question up just by saying, when we had Robbie Lyle on in our first season, it was, I guess, March of about 2 years ago. We asked him about the whole character thing, and now it's changed in 2 years, probably grown, and but he claimed that everyone was basically the exact person that you see on television. There were no characters. And I think that was, and I like Robbie and I've spent time with him. I think that was the one disingenuous thing that he said, because it is all about, for many of them, characters. That isn't a direct criticism, but I mean, there are certainly, the growth of clicks is based on characters. Yeah.
The thing is, Mike, right? This is when you say it's got characters, right? What necessarily happens, right? And this is the thing that people don't really understand: is the first time you go on that is your one and only hit to get a good audience. Right now, so like if you go on there and you're only going to get 10,000 views, you're not going to be considered as a regular. Do you know what I mean? So what you've got to do is that first one, you've got to go on there and you've got to do something. Now, like for DT, it was the banner that made him for it in there. Troops does what he does. I went on there and done a rant. You know what I mean? Like, and from that point of view, that's what you. So you've got all these people now going, right, I've got to come on here now, and I've got to say something that's going to be really controversial, really stupid, really whatever to go in there. And I don't think that's what the show should be about. It should be about a fan, whether it be you're getting 10,000 views or 100,000 views or 200,000 views. It's about getting the point of view over from the average fan, the whole fan base. So what you're getting is someone going to come on there and go, right, do you know what? Mesut Ozil's had a bad game today. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to steam into Mesut Ozil because that might get a reaction, which realistically isn't what it's there for. Do you see what I'm saying? It's there to come on there and say whatever you think the game is, and if you get your views and whatever. But the feeling is now that you've got to go. People feel they've got to go on there and make an impression.
I got a question, Lee. Before you go, I know you got like 2 minutes. If the post-game interviews with Arsenal Fan TV was an hour-long YouTube special where they went from one person to the next, they had the regulars in, they had the others. It was an hour-long continuous video. Now, I know this wouldn't sell as well, but I'm just saying you would get a mixture of people. Right now, it is broken into Lee, Claude, DT, Troops, random person, Fat American, it's their own individual clips, and they all rise or fall based on the merit and like you said, did the person grasp the attention and want to be seen every single week? But so you get the fact that the face of Arsenal Fan TV becomes the people who get the most clicks. Troops, DT. It was just an hour-long video. Do you think it would be less hated because it would really be more of a wide-ranging, and you kind of the whole hour got a lot of clicks or not a lot of clicks?
That would be a great idea, but it wouldn't sell, would it? So it wouldn't make them the money.
Of course not.
So that's the problem you got. The problem you got is, and this is what I say, I've got, as you well know, a few of my mates on there. Lewis knows a few of them. Andy knows a few that absolutely detest the program. The reason they detest the program because they say, right, I'm not worried about you going on there. You can do what you're at. But what happens is the most views that gets is DT and Troops, and they are representing what they feel is Arsenal fans, right? And they say, I don't want him. I don't want him representing me as an Arsenal fan. But the reason that it's being represented is because it gets the highest views. So that's not Arsenal AFTV's fault that he's getting the most views. You see what I'm saying? So that's where the problem lies. So I've got my mates going, I don't want you. So when you turn around and say, oh, they're representing the fans, in the concept of it all, they are. And that's what the hate comes from. Like my mates do not want, and there's nothing against DT and Troops as individuals, you know what I mean? Like, most of my mates, as Lewis knows Troops really well, and they get on well with him.
I think Troops is hilarious. But he is the character on the screen.
He's a character, but they don't want him, like the hardcore fans don't want that representation. And that's the problem that it's got,
Yeah. Lee, sorry to butt in. Do you feel when we was going through that rotten patch and the way AFTV risen, I feel personally that it's more of our rival fans back then trying to use it as like banter and trying to make us look like fools, and I think it's kind of risen off of the back of that. Do you think the same?
Yeah, I know you got to go.
I'll wait 5 minutes because it's an important thing. What I see of it, I feel like I'm going to take myself for instance. I average probably 100 to 150,000 views every time. You know what I mean? I'd like to think that most of them are genuine Arsenal fans watching that, yeah. But 300 to 325,000 are watching DT, and I think a lot of them, you know what I mean, are probably from different fan bases as well. You know what I mean? So you've got, so especially if Arsenal have lost, you're going to get all the Man United fans, right? We're going to go and watch that. We're going to watch that. Now, I don't watch any other fan channels. I don't go and watch West Ham or Man United, you know, and things like that. I wouldn't know who these guys are if they walk past me. But there is that. There is and you have to understand that there's from, I would say, 15-year-olds up to about 21-year-olds that are on YouTube all the time, guys. You know what I mean? It's a different concept to what probably us guys are on looking at it from. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if I want to go and watch some content about Arsenal, you know what I mean, I'll probably go and look to the more older generation guys that are on it, like, you know what I mean. But that's me personally. But the younger the audience are going to go down that route, and that's the problem you've got. Totally get what Lewis is saying there. Look, Arsenal Fan TV, when Robbie first took over it, like, you know, as he said, he was struggling. It was an interview with Chris when we lost to Aston Villa, and that's where it all rocked from, like, you know what I mean. But if Arsenal would have beaten Aston Villa that day, then Chris wouldn't have gone on there and said what he has said, and basically nor would have I, you know what I mean, because you know, say like if AFTV started now. You know, it would all be basically the same. Uri Emery, no one's really Uri Emery out, are they? But it come along at a perfect time for them to do what they want to do, and there is that thing about what I don't like about it. You know what I mean? I can understand people not like, but there is a genuine. I go onto my timeline and there's a genuine hate for it. You know what I mean? I don't see. I do see it, like, you know, people slag off Match of the Day because of Shearer and Ian Wright sometimes criticise it, and the hate comes onto it there, you know what I mean? So they're always going to get some sort of hate, guys, but we're Arsenal fans, and I don't think that it should be as hated as much as it is, but that's something that Robbie and the guys
there's a subset of people that have this issue where they seem to want to make themselves feel more virtuous by constantly obsessing over what they see as less virtuous from others. And, you know, I could rattle off the names right now on Twitter, but it's just, you know, it's as obnoxious and pathological as the people that they're criticizing are viewed to be by them. And it's why us as a fan base will never just be harmonious, because there's always got to be an us versus them.
Yeah, and the thing is, you've you know, like, say if you go on Twitter and you just put like, oh, I don't think Arsenal play very well, right? You might get 10, 15 people responsive. If you go on there and say, do you know what, I think Arsenal Fan TV is rubbish, or I love Arsenal Fan TV, you know people are going to react with you.
Yeah.
So that people are looking, you know, so it's a tough thing. I just wish, from my point of view personally, that it was a little bit more well received by everybody from the fan base. You know, like, you know, unfortunately, I don't get any hate at all. You know what I mean? But I wish that it would be a little bit more, because I feel at times, guys, that I've not been able to enjoy it as much as I should have.
Well, it's a complicated situation. You do a pretty good job of walking the line of good reason, and you don't slag people off unfairly.
I only used to, like, you know what I mean? So,
well, you know, other than me,
on WhatsApp, slagging off.
Thanks for joining us. You could be seen on the Same Old Arsenal podcast, which is starting any minute now.
Yeah, it's just I've got, like, it was meant to be 7:30, but I think Craig's been called into work or something, so I've got to go a bit earlier. So I'm
all right. Well, everybody who's when we're done, switch over to Same Old Arsenal. Enjoy it. You're going to spend the whole podcast talking about how wonderful your experience was here. I know, but we will talk to you soon, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us on. Cheers, guys.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
He just used the royal. Thanks for having us on. I love that. He's become an entity. All right, so we'll go through a couple more questions. You guys got maybe 5 or 10 more minutes?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Couple more questions. We have, who would be more annoying to have in your crew if you were getting into a bar fight? Walcott running behind the other guys and into a useless offside position, or Mustafi suddenly pleading or sliding for no reason, which apparently, and I don't want to get the haters on me, but apparently he did it today against a team in Dubai. allowing a goal. So this is a question from Conquistador number 4 in San Antonio. Lewis, if you're hanging in a crew, you want Mustafi or Walcott there for the bar fight?
Mr. Horizontal for me, Mustafi. Like, he's been consistently awful for the last 18 months to 2 years. I mean, with Walcott, at least he's further up the pitch, and that can't really harm you. So yeah, Mustafi for me. He's the most annoying one out of the two.
And that means you'd want him in the bar fight with you?
No, I'd rather Theo than Mustafi.
I'm not sure the question really came through. All right. Who'd be more annoying to have in your crew? I'm sorry, that's my fault.
Yeah. So Mustafi would be the more annoying to have. Theo's too much of he's too much of a teacher's pet to be annoying. So
I don't know. I think he could be useful because at least one of the people that you're fighting with will be taken out by a slide tackle. That's in my mind. Andy, who are you? I know that you're no fan of Theo, or have you?
Yeah, what good is he going to be running around the group when it all kicks off? So at least Mustafi, like you said, is going to slide tackle some bitches.
He's going to get stuck in.
Yeah.
All right, now, David, you wrote this question, so and your love for Shkodran precedes you, so. Can I assume that you
Why is he giggling like that?
I just thought it was funny. I don't know. It was one of those goofy questions. I'm pretty certain Skodran is Turkish for clean sheet.
I thought it was Turkish for penalty.
I ask for user questions, and within 30 minutes, I have 12 amazing user questions from David every week. I mean, it's like I should just call him David questions at this point. Because I mean he's prolific, almost as prolific as Olivier Giroud, who the next question is about. Why does Olivier Giroud remain so underrated by large segments of football fans? He fired Montpellier to a French title, scored over 100 goals for us, won a World Cup, won 4 FA Cups, 4 FA Cups, yeah, for Chelsea, right? Won a Puskas, joint third highest scorer ever for the French national team. And yet he is called a lamppost and slagged off by a lot of people, other than Becca, who, I believe still covers herself in Giroud pictures as she goes to bed every night. But Lewis, why do you think he's not really considered? I mean, I guess the hint of the question here is, should we not be looking at this guy as being like top 10 strikers in the Premier League? Is that too ridiculous? Top 10, top 20 of all time?
Bit ridiculous. Top 10, no, top 20, yeah. I'll put him in the top 15 to 20. But I think when you look back at the history of Arsenal strikers, like especially in my era, you had Ian Wright, you had Kevin Campbell's, you had Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp. So it's almost like you've gone from that elite stage, and when Giroud came in, it was at a time where we wasn't really too sure what we was going to get from him. And when you're playing
he was RVP's replacement, basically, right?
I know. And it was almost like he didn't quite fit. But as the years went on, we realized how important he actually was to the team, because his hold-up play was probably one of the best in the Premier League. And a lot of our team goals came from him being within the play. And now that he's gone, we're missing that sort of plan B where we can just knock it long into a big target man and play in and around him. So
speaking of Welbeck not coming back, would you sign Giroud back as being the third striker next season?
Put it this way, Mike. I was more upset that Giroud left to go Chelsea, and it took me a long time to be a bit of a Giroud fan than it was for Sanchez to go to Man United. That hurt more.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd agree with Lewis there, because Giroud actually cared for the club, and I think that, a player of his caliber, specifically over the last 2 to 3 seasons when he was with Arsenal, was always on the fringes of France. Any other player would have said, I need to be playing. And he just kind of was okay being that I'll come on when I'm needed. And when he came on, he made the difference. And I think we always saw from him passion, whether it was a start or an 80th minute sub. He wanted to make a difference, and I think he cared about that. And Mike, we talk a lot about, is the Ramsey a legend and what makes people legend? Some people see Giroud as a legend because he scored a lot of goals for us. I don't personally, but
I've always said if Ramsey's a legend, then so is Giroud.
Yeah.
I don't think either of them are, but
No. But so I look at him and I agree with Lewis. Like, I was upset when he went to Chelsea, but Mike, at the end of the day, people get on him for going to Chelsea. There was a sequence of events that needed to happen for us to get Aubameyang, and I'm almost certain that if you had said to Giroud, hey, we need a better player up front, you're not going to be playing here, we're going to ship you off to Chelsea. If he's like, if that's the best for Arsenal, then I'll do it. Like, that just seems like
the only question there is whether he could have gone to Dortmund instead of Chelsea. But
maybe, but he's got a young family in England, in London, so why not stay in the city? But at the end of the day, I agree with Lewis. Like, that hurt a lot more than anyone else leaving the club in recent years.
Well, I wasn't hurt when I was just anxious to get rid of Sanchez. So if you're talking about like hurting to see him in another uniform, I thought you meant you held it against him that he did that, and I don't see how you could really do that with Giroud. I take him back in that third role as long as he's not expecting to start games other than maybe cups. I'd have him as my third striker over Welbeck in a minute for next season, even with him having 2 more years on his speedometer. I mean, I'd rather have Lewandowski, but I mean, I would take Giroud at this point. David, what do you think about your own question there?
It was my own question. I don't know why he doesn't get the respect that I think he probably deserves. And it was a legitimate question. That was normally I try to come up with funny ones, but that was a legit question because I don't get why he doesn't get more respect from people. And I don't know if I would take him back at Arsenal, not as a third striker. I really wouldn't. And this kind of goes back to the Welbeck question that happened earlier. Right. I think that third striker for us has got to be a young player that we're moving in and moving through. It's got to be because, I mean, Aubameyang's 30 or 31. Lacazette's 28 or 29, somewhere in there. I mean, when those two guys hit decline, I don't know if he catches the thing.
I don't think he is. I think he's been given enough opportunity where he hasn't proven.
Yeah.
And I agree with Ziegler. Like, we need to have someone who comes in who can learn from Aubameyang and Lacazette, who can mold their style of play and be young enough where they can create their career here. I don't think Nketiah is that guy.
I think he needs a little bit more time so that we can figure that out. He very well may not be, but I'm not sure that you could just make that judgment.
But if Giroud came back for 50 to 80,000 a year and was comfortable being a week, being comfortable being our fourth, then I'd be all for it. But that's not, like Lewis said, that's not going to make us step up to that next level he was talking about earlier.
No, it doesn't.
He's a great cup player, and he would be great coming in for those situations, but we need that young player who's going to be the Gabriel Jesus of who is he? He makes an impact. He's fighting now for, pushing an Aguero type player to be on the pitch. That's what we need.
And honestly, as far as I can think of one other player that scored some more sensational goals and can make something out of nothing like Giroud can in the last 10 years in that position, and that's Ibrahimovic.
Yeah.
I'm not saying.
If I was Arsenal, I'd be looking at Callum Wilson at Bournemouth, and I'd be looking at him and just saying he's young, he's English, he's got hunger, he seems like he can adapt to multiple systems. Eddie Howe has a good system of play. I mean, he's scoring goals. That would be the type of striker I would be looking at, saying, here's who we want to build our future around.
And I'm not comparing Giroud to Ibrahimovic. I'm just talking about the finishing. But as Mike Hernandez said, had Giroud come in to replace Shamak or Bentner instead of RVP, the perception would have been very different. And I think he would have gotten a lot more credit for what he did. We're pushing over about an hour and a half, so we're going to finish it off here. Thanks for the excellent user questions. Thanks to the chat room for joining us and contributing. Yeah,
Who's
don't forget.
Picture behind you, is that Lewis?
That's Lewis. I had Lewis before the podcast. I had Lewis.
I saw mine fell down.
Judges and yours, and not enough tape, so they all fell down except for Lulu. So
hey, David, if you could just go ahead and text me your home address, that would be great.
No problem. It's I'll tell you now. It's 8680.
Make sure you turn up on the third Thursday of the month as well.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
I got some photos I need to send
I'm
you.
staying out of the state of Colorado.
So Lewis, a big day's coming up the day after tomorrow. You know what day it is?
Friday?
No, it's Thursday, but it's the 28th. So Lewis, that's a big day for you.
Is it your birthday?
No, it's the day where every time we're talking about tickets for an Arsenal game, it's the day he says that he can pay us. So he's like, we're good on the 28th.
It's just easier that way.
It's like a national holiday. So Lewis, what are you up to? What's your Twitter handle? What's your next podcast appearance? So when we ask you next?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, at the minute, it's
you're not starting on YouTube channel and piggybacking with Lee Gunner.
I'm just in this for the fun of it. I'm not in it for the seriousness and whatnot. Just here to have,
like we are.
Yeah, just to have a bit of a laugh and a giggle, really. If you want to find me on Twitter, it's LEWLEW41986.
And put that little @ symbol in front of it, or you'll be wasting your time. David, what are you going on? What are you doing? Another legend who we've had on the podcast and has his own line of clothing and podcasting and all of that. But will we be? We'll be work together, and we need to talk about Gooners versus Cancer as it relates to this summer tour, because we're going to try to do some really good things. But anything else you want to plug?
I think the only thing really to plug right now is to watch the Arsenal America social media channels for events, for either retweets or sharing the events and the matches when they get announced and all of that. So watch all the stuff that's coming through there.
David, I have a question for you because this might, and it relates to, and you might be able to say yes, no, whatever. But for the fans in the U.S. who are listening to this, who are wondering, is there any inkling of AA putting together any supporters group kind of thing for one of the cities, or is it still way too early to tell? Because I know a lot of people are waiting for that announcement before they book their travel, as we were talking about earlier.
Something similar to like a San Jose fan.
Yeah, like an event with the supporters and the players.
I can't speak to anything about players yet, but there will be events, absolutely, and in whatever cities are announced, there's going to be events because, whether it's something that the club puts on, something that the sponsors want to put on, something that the local branch, in San Jose, we went to Jack's Bar, and there was always things kind of going on here and there. And then Arsenal America trying to help all of those things happen. There's going to be something going on all over the place. And
then again, maybe you can answer, maybe you can't, but for American listeners, if they wanted to acquire tickets, because I know you and I were talking about this yesterday, how would one look to possibly attaining tickets for these different matches?
Talking like an attorney, like if one decided to purchase entry into such an event.
Well, I'm a non-attorney spokesperson, and you should consult with your doctor. That's got nothing to do with the ticket question. You should just consult with him.
I mean, Mike, I have to word it like that because he basically said to me and you, "Hey, put me on the podcast. Official. I'm guaranteeing you tickets for each match." Okay, you can come on the pod. So
on the bench.
I'm just trying to figure out how to word it.
Yeah. We don't want to violate any trust.
He said you guys can kick the first ball in each game and then run off the field. So
that's how your mom's gonna sing the national anthem, right?
There's heavy rumor that might actually happen. To be honest with you, because they just need someone in Denver who's English who knows the words.
Oh, that would be outstanding if that actually happens. And then in LA, the opening kickoff is going to happen while Lewis's parents and neighbors are fucking on the center circle.
But to answer his question, I'm trying to think of the best way to express it. There won't be any ticket detail coming out right off the bat. tomorrow's going to be announcements and that sort of thing. I know the ICC has been publicizing pre-sale mailing lists and that sort of thing. We're expecting something similar through Arsenal America, and for that, that would be for our members. That would be for Arsenal America members. So
join Arsenal America, $25, and you get all kinds of. But it's gonna be more than that, maybe.
No, it won't be more than that. No. It is $25, but watch for us to open 2019-20 next season memberships early. Because there's no point in buying a membership for this season unless you are going to buy a ticket. They were going to close in a couple of weeks anyway. So we're going to open next season's membership in the next, couple of weeks. It'll be coming up soon. But
so don't buy a membership for this year. Wait until next year's membership, which will include the summer tour.
Or buy both. Just don't buy this year's expecting to get tickets to the summer tour.
If you want to buy this year so you can get the member pack, this year's member pack had some cool stuff in it. Next year's member pack won't probably come until late summer or early fall. It takes a little bit of time to put that together.
Arsenal branded Vaseline.
So what I'm hearing is next year's pack, you want Mike and I to have pictures that we sign for people. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah. Because if that's what I'm hearing,
we can make that happen.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah. So, boys, that's the final Interlull Spectacular this season. Don't forget to join us at O'Hanlon's on 11th of April after the Napoli game. If you're in New York City, if you're within a $3,000 flight away from New York City, it's a can't-miss opportunity to hobnob with Tom and Drew while I drunkenly talk into a microphone about their penises. Speaking of penises, we're doing live shows on YouTube. So if you're listening to this after the fact on iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify, you're missing out on what the chat room said was, really the best feature of this podcast, which is that we are not for visual consumption. What did he say exactly?
You have to actually find the exact phrase for that.
It was very hurtful.
My feelings were hurt. I've held back the tears until we
go
off
here. Left early.
Please give us a thumbs up if you're in the chat room. That lets us know that you like the podcast. If you don't do that, then we have absolutely no way of knowing how much you love it. If you hit the bell notification, you'll never miss a live show. It'll change your life, and our lives will be changed because clearly we need as much attention, positive or negative, as we can get.
My life will be the same.
Yeah, his life will be the same.
It was this podcast is not a pleasant visual experience.
Yes, that's going to be the name of this pod.
While hurtful, it's very accurate.
I mean, we never said it wasn't true. We just said it wasn't necessary to say that. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Enjoy your week. We will be back at some point after the Newcastle game and back to our regular schedule. Come on, you Gooners.